Hello, I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the avgeeks lunchtime streaming show. We just watched some home movies that were shot of Atlantic City, 1942, maybe in September-ish. Somebody spotted a sign that said All American Pageant, September, early September, I believe. Anyway, so the frame rate on that. So it was a compilation reel, and it starts off what we say overcranked in that it was shooting a lot more frames per second. So when you played it back normal, it played back slow motion, which was really interesting. Then at some point it got to normal speed, but normal speed could have been 16 frames a second, and so when we render it out, we try to render like 24 frames a second, or if it's consistently one speed. But that was all over the place. So home movies are hard. And I know that some cameras, more advanced cameras, actually would allow you to adjust the speed, going faster or slower, either to save film or to do special effects. Anyways, so we watch old 60 millimeter films, and that was great. And that parade, I've seen other variations on that parade in other home movies. People visiting Atlantic City and setting up on a balcony and overlooking the boardwalk and shooting, the promenade. Beautiful, beautiful footage. So, big fan. This next film is about pigs and elephants. Enjoy.
Pigs have been a source of food since prehistoric times. They furnish us with pig is called a boar. A mother pig, called a sow, gives birth to from 9 to 12 young pigs twice each year. A pig has cloven hoofs, which make it able to walk through mud without getting stuck. The large snout helps the pig in digging for food under the soil. It is used to push up the sod. These young pigs are already learning to dig in the ground for insects and other food. Pigs grow rapidly. In a year, this one will be as large as his mother. But now, let's look at some of the relatives of domestic pigs from other lands. The babirusa, a wild pig of the East Indies, is one of the strangest of all pigs. The mother has no tusks, but the father has very long tusks. Those on the upper jaw grow up through the skin of the nose. Both sets of tusks curve backward. The feet have 2 large toes with 2 small toes behind. The babirusa sleeps during the day and feeds at night in damp forests and swamps. It eats plants and insects. The natives of the East Indies often tame the babirusa and raise it for food. The warthog, a wild pig of Africa, is another relative of the pig, but it is rarely domesticated. It's called warthog because of the large warts on its head and face. Another peculiar feature of the warthog is the long hair on the back. It uses its enormous tusks both for defense and in digging its food from the ground, for it feeds mostly on the roots of plants. This animal lives on the plains of Africa, resting by day and coming out to feed at dusk. The pygmy hippopotamus is about the size of a large domestic pig. The skin is black, very shiny, and almost completely without hair. The pygmy hippopotamus lives in northwestern Africa, in swamps and damp forests. The 4 toes of the broad, flat feet are partially connected with a web of skin, which allows this animal to walk safely on swampy ground. It wanders great distances through the dense tropical forest to obtain its food: grass, young shoots of trees, and wild fruits. The lips are used to pull the grass from the ground and the leaves from plants. Like most relatives of the pig hippopotamus sleeps during the day and feeds at night. Many people think this animal is a young hippopotamus, but if we compare it with the common hippo, we'll see that it's really quite a different animal. The common hippopotamus is found in many parts of Africa, living in families of 2 or 3 or in large herds of 20 to 30. The feet seem small for so large an animal, but when we realize that the hippopotamus spends much of its time floating in the water, we see the reason why. The flesh of the hippopotamus is used by the African natives for food. The natives often have difficulty in piercing the thick hide with their primitive weapons, for the skin is very tough and may be as much as 1.5 inches thick. Unlike the pygmy hippopotamus, the common hippo lives chiefly in lakes and rivers. Its eyes are built like periscopes, and the animal can remain underwater with only its eyes above the surface. The nostrils can be closed while underwater, and the hippo can remain submerged for 5 minutes. The open mouth of a hippopotamus is truly an amazing sight. Its enormous tusks are useful in cutting grass and water plants on which it feeds. They also may be used in fighting and are so sharp that they've been known to pierce the bottom of a native dugout canoe. Large teeth farther back in the mouth crush the 5 or 6 bushels of food needed to make a good meal for a hippopotamus. The hippopotamus usually has 1 baby each year. It takes to the water like a duckling. During the day, hippopotamuses, or hippopotami, rest either in the water or among the dense reeds at the water's edge. At dusk, they come out onto land to feed. Where man has planted crops near the water, they do much damage, eating corn and sugar cane and trampling the crops as they go from one field to another. Unless frightened, they will not return to the water until dawn. The elephant is not a member of the pig family. However, it belongs with the hippopotamus to the pachyderm or thick-skin group of animals. Elephants are the largest living land mammals. There are only 2 kinds of elephants, the Indian and the African. The African elephant is usually taller. It has very large ears and a low forehead. For centuries, elephants have been hunted for their tusks, which are the chief source of ivory. The African elephant is never domesticated. Here we see an Indian elephant, easily recognized by its smaller ears and high forehead. Although the elephant is supposed to be very intelligent, he actually isn't as smart as your dog. The Indian elephant is easily trained, and his large size and great strength enable him to carry heavy loads. He's usually very tame and obedient. In India and other lands of the East, he's trained to carry logs and is ridden on tiger hunts. This is the kind you see in most circuses. Unlike the hippopotamus, an elephant spends most of his time on dry land and therefore needs large legs and feet to support his great weight, as much as 5 tons. The bottom of the foot has a large, soft pad to take the shock of moving the huge body. The feet are used in defense. The elephant can kill any smaller animal by stamping on it. An elephant's skin has very little hair and is thick and wrinkled. The eyes are very small, and the elephant cannot see very well. Although he does have large ears, he doesn't hear very well either, and relies almost entirely on his sense of smell for finding food and water and warning him of danger. The nose is greatly elongated and forms what we call the trunk. This is the mouth of the elephant. The long, pointed lower lip is used for grasping the food passed to it by the trunk. The trunk is very flexible and serves as an arm, while the small, muscular flap of skin at the end of the trunk serves as a hand. With it, the animal is able to pick up small objects, like the peanuts you've probably fed to elephants at the circus. The trunk is also used by the elephant in drinking. He sucks the water into his trunk and then squirts it into his mouth. This zoo elephant is eating hay. His natural food is grass and leaves and twigs of trees. Elephants frequently push over trees to get at the leaves. We've met some animals with which you're familiar and some which may be new to you. Excepting the elephant, all of those you have seen are close relatives and are members of the pig group. Next time you visit a farm or zoo, remember the foreign relatives of the common domestic pig.
Yeah, I don't think they're related. I kind of did research. I was like, are they related? I mean, they're both mammals, and they both, if you squint your eyes, they kind of look the same. But I don't think they're really closely related. Oh well, that's life. Let's see. God, got a lot of films. This is I showed something from NARA yesterday, the National Archives, and people liked it. So here's another short thing. I might go through and find, because I have a lot of Hitler footage and I have a lot of atomic testing footage, and it's not really great, but every once in a while something pops up that's interesting. So I'll try to pull those things out. While I don't have the physical films in my collection, I do have very high quality scans of the films. Some are HD, 2K, 4K. So I don't know if that counts. It's from my collection. I don't know. Let's talk more rock.
Anchors Away means just that at Annapolis, as 780 middies received their diplomas after 4 years of grinding study. 10,000 jam the Naval Academy Fieldhouse as the middies receive their Bachelor of Science degrees, and all but 14 of the class become officers in the armed forces. When the Secretary of the Navy, Fred Korth, hands out the last diploma and the anchorman gets his hazing, there's one last traditional rite. The graduating class gives 3 cheers. Cheers they all deserve. In Colorado Springs, 2,100 Air Cadets parade in salute to Vice President Johnson, on hand to give 297 Air Force Academy graduates their diplomas. This is but the 4th class to graduate from the Air Force Academy, and already they are molding a tradition, ready to follow in the footsteps of General Curtis LeMay, who presents their commissions. May their bright new wings carry them to brilliant careers. The 598 graduates at West Point are honored by the Commander-in-Chief himself, who addresses the cadets on their role as soldiers. He tells them that the next decade would offer them a broad opportunity to defend freedom. And then he said,
above all, you will have a responsibility to deter war as well as to fight it. For the basic problems facing the world today are not susceptible of a final military solution. While we will long require the services and admire the dedication and commitment of the fighting men of this country, neither our strategy nor our psychology as a nation, and certainly not our economy, must become permanently dependent upon an ever-increasing military establishment. Our forces, therefore, must fulfill a broader role as a complement to our diplomacy, as an arm of our diplomacy, as a deterrent to our adversaries, and as a symbol to our allies of our determination to support them.
The President is made an honorary member of the class of '62 and receives a class ring. There's this to make the Commander-in-Chief. I second Louis. Then that coveted piece of parchment. The President has special greetings for 2 graduates whom he appointed to the Academy while he was a senator from Massachusetts. In all, 1,675 officers and gentlemen graduate from the 3 academies, men who pledge their futures to the freedom of the democracies, something we can all cheer about. California primary with national interest is the contest waged by former Vice President Nixon for the Republican nomination for governor. With his wife, Pat, Mr. Nixon casts his own ballot in the race against Joseph Schell, an ultra-conservative candidate for the office. Mr. Nixon campaigned vigorously for the nomination, and when the returns were in, he captured 65% of the vote, soundly defeating his opponent who had the backing of the ultra-conservatives. This is a critical race for Mr. Nixon. His political life hinges on his success in the race for the governorship. In November, Californians will go to the polls to choose between Mr. Nixon and his Democratic opponent, Governor Edward Brown, who handily defeated 3 rivals in his party's primary. The fall election will tell whether Mr. Nixon will emerge once more as a national political figure. The first Chinese refugee family to be admitted to the U.S. under an emergency immigration plan arrives in Chicago. Eng Si Sui, his wife and 3 children, are greeted by his mother, who has not seen her son and grandchildren in a decade. The Eng family has been waiting in Hong Kong since 1955 for the chance to enter the United States, and they had little chance of immigrating under the usual quota of 105 Chinese a year. Today, however, they taste sweet liberty, the first of thousands of Chinese refugees to be granted asylum. Mr. Eng's elation will be echoed by those who follow. The happiest day of his life. Step in and let's go boating. What we have here may appear to be conventional automobiles, but the German inventor has built-in standard equipment that allows the cars to take to the river and lake like a duck takes to you-know-what. Many prototypes of amphibious cars have been built through the years, but this is the first one to go into actual production. Already, say the manufacturers, thousands of the craft have been ordered, but so far only 7 a day can be produced until new facilities are ready. The car, or the boat, is economical too. 32 miles to a gallon on land, 1.5 gallons an hour on water. Where do you get your license? From the Motor Vehicle Bureau or the Coast Guard? The car's inventor has visions of the craft taking to the water and skirting traffic jams. One problem he hasn't solved, however, that of finding a parking spot when you come back to Earth.
Pretty great. Yeah, so those are Universal newsreels. And Universal donated a bunch of those to the National Archives back in the day. So they are out in the world. You'll find lots of different places that show them and mention them. But I like them in their entirety. Newsreels, of course, were shown before feature films. And I think they did newsreels up until the mid to late 60s. And also cartoons. So, you'd go to the theater and you would see a variety of different things before the feature film started. The idea was you have a whole evening of entertainment and information, and it's Good time for all. It's your best entertainment value. Okay, so this film is painting and decorating, and it's basically shown to people who are pursuing a career in something. And so this would have been in trade school, high school, or people that were out of work, trying to work, or out of the military. Actually, this would have been shown. So here we go.
Your life work. Painting and decorating is one of our most essential trades. It fills a basic need with very little chance of ever diminishing in importance. The constant demand for paint and varnish as a protection and decoration ensures that there will always be a need for this service. One of the big advantages of the trade is that it is not entirely dependent upon new buildings for its existence. Old buildings require frequent painting and redecorating, and this assures fairly steady employment for those engaged in this occupation. Nor are buildings alone the only demand for the painter's skill. Many structures of iron and steel owe their permanence to the paint which covers them. For if it were not for this protective covering, the might and strength of these giant frameworks would crumble away under the corrosive action of the weather. But a painter's work is more than spreading paint on a surface. Real painting must not only cover the area, it must protect and beautify it as well. This requires a thorough knowledge of the tools and materials as well as the nature of the surface to be covered. The painter's tools are few, but he must understand them thoroughly. There is a right brush for every job, and he must know its choice and understand its application. The spray gun, too, will find its place wherever large surfaces are to be covered, or, as in this case, in reaching nooks and crannies not readily accessible to a brush. And the blowtorch will also supplement his stock in trade, as well as putty and scraping knives when it comes to preparing old surfaces for refinishing. The painter must also have a thorough understanding of the materials with which he works. Various surfaces require different treatments, and the painter must know the right treatment for each job. This means understanding the characteristics of each material, such as paint, varnish, enamel, lacquer, and shellac, as well as coloring materials and stains of all kinds. In addition to his knowledge of tools and materials, the painter must understand the preparation of the surface to be finished. Sometimes this calls for a job of plastering. Cracks and other unsightly marks occurring in older houses must be repaired before proceeding with any final decoration. Woodwork to be painted requires particular attention. Wood is an absorbent material, and its pores must be sealed to prevent them from soaking up too much of the paint. This is done by applying a filler or primer coat to close the pores, after which the wood may receive the usual coat of paint without danger of raising the grain or having it show through. Painting, like almost any other trade, involves certain occupational hazards, but these can be greatly minimized, if not entirely eliminated, by the exercise of common sense. Most materials are inflammable, and care should be used accordingly. Then, too, the fumes from various chemicals in paints are injurious to the lungs, but this can always be overcome by proper ventilation, such as opening the top part of a window when working on the bottom. Paint contains lead oxide, but the danger of lead poisoning can be easily minimized by being careful to clean one's hands upon finishing work, and especially before eating.
Not all painters care for diversified work, and accordingly, there has been a trend towards specialization in this field. In the past, a painter was required to do all kinds of work. But today, in the larger towns and cities, many painters prefer to concentrate on one type of work, as, for example, the painting of advertising signs. It is best, however, that a painter acquaint himself with all phases of the trade before he decides to be a specialist. General painting probably affords the most favorable of working conditions. Since it includes both outdoor and indoor jobs, the general painter is not subject to the whims of the weather, but can change his work to meet climatic conditions. For him, there is no laying off with loss of pay because of rain. He just moves inside when the weather's bad. Nor is the painter's skill alone responsible for making our homes attractive to the eye. Wallpaper, in its many shades and patterns, contributes largely to the attractiveness of any room. This is a job requiring a great deal of dexterity and care, for here the workman not only must cut to exact sizes before applying, but he must also be able to match up and maintain a continuous pattern. If you should decide to become a painter or decorator, no doubt you'll wonder what your chances are for becoming successful. This is largely a matter of individual aptitude. Of course, a high school education backed by specialized training in a trade school is almost a prerequisite. But along with this acquired knowledge, certain natural endowments are necessary. First, you should have some artistic ability. That is, you should enjoy making things beautiful. You should have good eyesight and general good health. You should be able to endure the fumes of paint and varnish and be physically alert at all times. And lastly, you should have average intelligence and more than average patience. Since color forms the basis of the science of decoration, a great deal of stress is put upon its importance. Charts are used to demonstrate the theory of color harmony, and the apprentice has shown that the consonance of colors is as important to the eye as harmony of sound is to the ear. Then, when the student has acquired appreciation for this tonal value of colors, he is shown how to produce them. This takes a great deal of care and patience, for when adding one tint to another, a little bit often goes a long way. It is this appreciation of the importance of small things that often makes the difference between accomplishment and failure. There are certain ethics in the trade which should be learned early. An apprentice is judged by the work he does and by his attitude toward the job. His success is largely proportional to his reputation for honest workmanship and good materials. In the course of your specialized training, you will be expected to learn all parts of the trade. And here is where the basic education of the high school is necessary to a better understanding of the technical phases of the work. At the successful conclusion of his training period, the apprentice becomes a journeyman or fully qualified painter and decorator. Then, with more experience, he may become a specialist in some phase of the work. Each advancement requires a greater variety of training and skill, which eventually may lead to owning your own business. This calls for the ability to make estimates and bids, as well as direct the job and supervise other workers. Homeowners are becoming more and more paint and color conscious. They want up-to-date color schemes and are demanding good materials and superior workmanship. They want a man on whom they can rely, a man who can advise them on how to decorate their homes or business places. Often, the good, reliable painter is given full go ahead and use his own judgment as to color and harmony. This gives him a chance to express his own individuality. He can suggest new designs and color combinations, and this makes his work of increasing interest and satisfaction. If the opportunities of such work appeal to you, and you feel you can meet the responsibilities of the trade, perhaps painting and decorating may become your life's work.
Oh boy, that whole thing about lead paint and like it shouldn't be a problem if you wash your hands before you eat. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it when it gets on your hair and your rest of your skin, and yeah, you'll be fine. Don't worry about it. And now, years later, there's a whole industry based on testing houses for lead paint and dealing with it. Okay, so next film we got is part of that series, Inside Out, which was something that came on in the early 70s, around 72, that golden year that we love. And they were made by different TV stations, mostly East Coast. And they were shown on public television, and then they distributed them on 16 millimeter and showed them in classrooms. And so I was going through to kind of audit which ones I've shown, which ones I haven't shown, because I have quite a few of them in the series. I don't think I have all of them, but I have a pretty good selection. This one is Must I, May I?
From Exxon Corporation.
We can't finish it unless you come. Why do you have to take him every day? What's wrong with their mothers? She's away. Watch it, Philip. Maybe I can get Peter to take him. Peter! You take them today. They're your cousins, too. I'm busy. Hey, there's Jenny. Let's see you later, Deb. Why do I always have to do everything? I wish I lived someplace else.
I'm going. Did you wash your face? No. Hold still. I'll do it for you.
I can do it myself.
I don't mind. Now, what about your hands? Really?
Oh, Mom.
Bobby, be careful of that bike. Your father paid a lot for it. And put your coat on.
I was going to put my coat on. This is I can do anything by myself. paid a lot for that bike. I hate this bike. Why'd they have to give me a fancy fold-up one like the old people use? I wish I had one like John's. That would be neat.
Bobby, watch what you're doing. I told you to be careful. Want to ride? You can put the bike in the car.
No, I'm just going to Chris's.
Chris isn't home. I already phoned to make sure. I think you better come with me.
Then I'll go to John's.
You know you've got to cross Bloor Street to get to John's place, and your father forbids that.
I don't want to go home. Why can't you leave me alone?
Oh, stop being such a baby now.
I'm not a baby, and I'm not going home. Well, don't get lost. How could anybody get lost on these dumb old streets? I wish I could go downtown by myself. I can't do anything by myself.
Hey, you!
Come over here! Where do you get that orange? Don't you know it's yellow? Now give it to me! Give it to me!
15 cents.
All I have is a dime.
Well, give me it.
John, stop. I needed that money. Stop. Get it. Ew, this house is a mess. You have to clean it up. Oh, shut up. Corey, go change your clothes. What should I wear? I don't care. Ew, sink is a mess. I'm not going home. She never lets me do anything. I'm going to John's. They'll never know.
You have to cross Bloor Street to get to John's place, and you know your father forbids that.
Well, maybe I shouldn't. Hey, Anthony! Is that you the bike? Yeah. All right. Okay. Excellent. To the block. Okay. Thanks, Anthony.
That's okay.
See you, Ann. Bye. Philip, Corey! Philip, Corey, where are you? Corey, Philip! Philip! Corey! Corey! Philip! If they cross the street.
Hi, Mr. Post.
Hello, Bobby. Can I help you, Bobby?
No, thanks. We're just gonna have a look at comic books.
Okay. Don't get anything on those.
No, I won't.
Post drugstore. Oh, yes, Mrs. Yes, I can do that. Right away. Oh, now, don't you worry about a thing. No, no, no. Okay.
Hey, Debbie, you late. I can't find Philip and Corey. So bluff. Has anyone seen Philip or Corey? No. Now listen, I told you two not to go without me. I was looking for you almost the whole afternoon.
All right, stop that. Are you staying for art school today, Debbie?
She has to go clean the house.
Okay, young fella, that will be 94 cents.
I only have 25 cents, but my mother will pay you tomorrow.
All right. You want me to call your mother and have her come and get you?
No, I can go home by myself.
All right, Bobby. Hey, Bobby, can you do me a favor? I've got a prescription here that needs to be delivered right away, and Pete's not back yet. Do you know the McGuires that live at 215 Warren Street?
I think so.
Well, one of their kids is sick, and they need this prescription urgently. Do you think you could deliver it for me?
Sure I can.
Okay, Bobby. Thank you.
You're welcome. So long.
So long.
Oh, why do I always have to do everything by myself?
I wish I could do more things for myself.
Inside Out is a series of programs and related materials developed and supported by 32 educational agencies in the United States and Canada, with additional support from Exxon Corporation. This program was produced by the Ontario Educational Communications Authority, under the supervision of NIT, National Instructional Television.
Pretty great. That what I call a free range kid film. It shows kids on their own experiencing life. Me riding my bike all over town. Going to a shop, buying some candy or some comics. Really, really something. Very much an idyllic time for me. And my nephew didn't have that, and I felt really bad for him for that reason. I know that it was kind of based on where he was located, which was more rural, but I felt for him. I know that kids that grow up in cities, they tend to have their own experiences, and parents will let them do things on their own at certain ages, which I think is important. And thanks Exxon for that. That was great. Somebody said, "Hey, there's that thing that you show every once in a while," and so here it is. It's time to shake your hands and your booty.
I can check that gear in a minute, so don't touch anything, okay?
Get down from there! Now! Hey! Turn it over! What if it bumped that control by accident? You'd be mincemeat by now. What have I told you? You don't work on equipment when the engine's running.
Well, I told him not to touch anything. All right, I guess I wasn't thinking.
You weren't thinking? You mean you'll work on engines and machinery and not think of your own personal safety? Here. Shake hands with danger.
Shake hands with danger. Meet a man you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety. Now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. I was young and feisty, never did things by the book. Just let me get my toolbox and I'll take myself a look. I climbed up on a dozier with my mechanic's pride. Said, you can keep it running, friend, while I poke around inside. Shake hands with danger, meet a guy you ought to know. I used to laugh at safety, now they call me Three-Fingered Joe. Although I learned a lesson, I forgot it soon enough. The nicks and burns and scratches showed the young ones I was tough. Till another morning I was grinding on some steel. My other hand got careless and fed my skin into the wheel. Shake hands with danger, step right up and say hello. Grinding wheels and metal are what made me Three-Fingered Joe. I've seen mechanics burning, and I've seen them take a fall, just to save themselves a minute. I've seen them lose it all. I've watched them courting trouble, seen them take a chance and lose. They get careless for a moment and spend a lifetime with the blues. Shake hands with danger.
around inside. Shake hands with danger. Walk 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 around inside.
Shake hands with danger and some friends I used to know. Compared to them, I'm lucky to be just Three-Finger Joe.
I gotta say, I don't get tired of that. It's got so much to it that I forget parts of it, and then when I listen to it again, it's pretty great. So I appreciate that you guys appreciate it, and I'll try not to play it too much, and just drive it into the ground because it is a very special thing. So if you liked what you saw today, you can buy us coffee, as caffeine is our drug of choice here at AV Geeks. You can also hit like, subscribe, the little notification bell icon, all those little things, those ways to quantify to the AI that drives social media that you enjoy what we do. Because otherwise, social media just doesn't understand. It just doesn't know. I mean, you don't have to do it, but it helps, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It seems like it maybe does. The reason why is because it gives more eyeballs. More people stumble across this if you like it more. And that's part of the deal. I like to show these films to lots of people. I like showing them to you, but I also like showing them to new people. And you can help also by bringing new people and saying like, hey, I saw this thing today. I thought you might like it. He does it every lunchtime during the weekdays. You can also visit avgeeks.com and see other things that we have digitized. You can see almost all the stuff that we've done for the last 300 and... Wow, which one are we on? 332nd. So over 300 of these shows we've done, and you can see them at avgeeks.com. Everybody have a good rest of your weekend, and we will see you next time. Please rewind and love each other, and we will see you on Monday. Everybody have a good, safe, chill, relaxing, pollen-free, if possible, weekend. Take care.